we go. All right. Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for attending today. My name is Melanie Nugent Noble. I'm the Executive Director with Nocturne Halifax, and I'm very excited to have you here at the Applicant Information Center session for our 18th annual festival taking place October 18th, or sorry, 15th to 18th, 2026. Um, the theme is Embodied City, curated by Annalise Perdor. Before we get started, I'd like to just provide our land acknowledgement. So Nocturne takes place within Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We also acknowledge the significant foundations that the infrastructure and culture of Black and African Nova Scotia communities have played in building this province and country. We continue to work to collaborate, amplify, and connect with the many art communities that live and work here in Mi'kma'ki. So today we have a bit of an agenda of the slides that we'll be going through today. You'll be hearing from me at the beginning. You'll be hearing from Annalise, our curator in the middle, and you'll also be hearing from our programming and communications coordinator, Signe Holm, who'll be talking through the application form as well. Um, just some kind of housekeeping and info session access information. So please don't hesitate to ask any questions that you might have related to the presentation in the chat or during the Q&A period at the end of the presentation. Someone from our team will be monitoring the chat throughout the meeting. Please just give us time to respond to each question. You're also welcome to put any questions to the info@nocturnehalifax.ca mailbox, or if you're having any tech issues or anything like that, that is also actively being monitored. Also, please use the Q&A, please use the raise your hand function to react to any questions or anything if you do have something as well. And if you are having, like I said, any tech issues, please let us know in the chat or email. Live closed captions are available on Zoom for this meeting. You click on the CC box at the bottom bar of your Zoom screen to enable the captions. When captions are enabled by the host of the meeting, the webinar captions will be automatically displayed for you. As I mentioned, this session is being recorded and we will be sending it out. We'll also be having a copy on our YouTube channel. So there are a few members of the Nocturne team here who are here today. Myself, Signe, and Annalise. And there are a few other board members who we're planning to attend as well. If you're a member of the team, feel free to wave your hand or give a little wave in the chat just to identify yourself. Happy to have you here. Generally, Nocturne, we have a small team, 2 full-time staff, which is Signe and myself, our curator, and a board of directors of 14 that make that festival happen every year. So what and when is Nocturne? Nocturne Art at Night is a fall festival that brings art and energy to the streets of Chibouctouc, Halifax, each October. It's a completely free annual event that showcases and celebrates the visual art scene here. This year, Nocturne Embodied City will take place October 15th to 18th and is curated by Annalise Perdor. Our signature nighttime art experience takes place on Saturday, October 17th, and that's when all of the beacon projects will take place. At its core, the festival exhibits temporary artworks in downtown Halifax and Dartmouth, We aim to present critical and relevant art events of highly artistic and professional standards. We encourage proposals of all kinds, installations, performance, community engagement, visual, radio, video, and more that resonate with Nocturne's theme and values. So Nocturne's vision, Nocturne Art at Night is the premier art experience in a thriving city community. Our mission, Nocturne Art at Night, celebrates contemporary professional art in Chibuktuk. Through our festival and additional programming, we use art as a catalyst for connection. And our values, our three core pillars. We take an artist-centered approach. In everything we do, we strive to provide a strong foundation for artist care and outreach, centering the artist in our process and decision making. Equity, diversity, and inclusion. We know that the arts help build community capacity for reconciliation, conversation, interaction, and a sense of vibrancy and belonging to one's community. Nocturne prioritizes the presentation of work created by Black and Indigenous artists, newcomer artists, 2S LGBTQA+ artists, and artists working with disabilities and across language boundaries. Empowerment through the arts. Nocturne aims to provide space and time to consider the issues facing us today. Our programming considers the local, global, and artistic context in which it exists. We continue to provide opportunities for artists to create something they don't have to sell and to explore new work with the financial resources and logistics to support to ensure success. We recognize that there's a gap in the sector that demands for artists to self-promote, self-advocate, self-market, and constantly generate new works for sale and make a profit while doing it. We address this by taking the pressure off monetizing experimental artwork and new collaborations to allow artists the space to build a practice reflective of the spectrum of their artistic capabilities. I'm now just going to show you a short video. This is our highlight reel slash promo video, which shows a lot of projects from this last year, our 2025 festival grounds. There is sound as well. It's maybe 30 seconds. All right. And now I will hand it over to Annalise to introduce themselves really quickly.
Hi, yeah, I won't take up too much time. There is like a really elaborate and long bio there for me if you're interested. And I'm really happy to take any questions at the end if you have any questions for me specifically. But I did want to say that I spent a lot of time thinking and researching and writing about this theme, Embodied City, and you can find what I wrote on the Nocturne website. I really hope that everyone takes the theme into consideration when they're applying to the festival. And yeah, I'm really happy to take questions about the theme specifically, and also I love the idea of the theme connecting with each person individually and what it might mean to you as an artist and a maker in Chibuktuk and Halifax, and how that might sort of like come through your own artwork and your own practice. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Annalise. Um, did you want to talk maybe a little bit about embodied city?
Yeah, sure. So I was thinking in my own personal life and practice about embodiment and what that meant to me, and I was looking up a lot of definitions of embodiment, and I um, had some colleagues and peers who were really inspiring to me, and they were fellow artists and were working in a way that was using their own bodies within their practices, and it sort of started to create a spark inside me to do the research and thinking and what that meant for me in art making. And um, I have a background as a visual artist. I studied at NASCAD and did my undergraduate there, and then I worked and still work as a live art producer as well. And so I think taking many different points within my career and putting them together, it started to sort of like make sense to me to focus on embodiment and thinking about what that can look like when you bring it into your life in a more active way. And I think that there are many different ways to approach it. I think it's really interesting to think about what it means to center the human experience when making artwork, because it seems kind of obvious. Of course, you would have a human experience within the art that you're making because a human is making it, but what does it actually mean to think about the experience the art brings into the world once it's made? So that's where this idea came from. And then relating that to Nocturne as being, you know, a festival that's so rooted within the city and urban environment, felt like a really interesting challenge. And I thought that not only is a challenge for me as a curator, but I thought that it would be really interesting to bring that as a challenge for the rest of the people who are involved in Nocturne as artists as well.
Great, thank you so much. And I'm just going to read like the second half of your statement, the statement here. To question what it means to be embodied in urban environments can offer relief and create opportunities to engage lived experience more directly. Embodiment, or turning the into the body's sensory experience, can spark creation, connection, and change through art, collective practice, and site-specific intervention. Um, so just to kind of give a more fulsome idea of what Nocturne looks like, we kind of have like five different project streams, two of which we'll be talking about tonight, which are our juried project streams. Those are our beacon projects and our low sensory projects. So our beacon projects are our Saturday night projects. They're artist-led works that are submitted to this annual call. They are selected through a jury funded by Nocturne. Artists receive a Carfax artist fee and cost to cover expenses associated with the project. And they're usually site specific and located in public or publicly accessible spaces. Our low sensory project takes place on the Sunday, Sunday afternoon. This is a fairly new project stream. It was first introduced formally in 2024 through support from Canada Council Sector Innovation, and includes sensory-friendly daytime projects taking place. Just acknowledging that Nocturne on the Saturday night isn't necessarily the most sensory friendly. It often includes very large crowds, loud noises, flashing lights. And so doing something on the Sunday that provides an opportunity for folks that is not overloaded. So in this call, we do select just a single process or project. We also pay artist fees and associated expenses. And it's located this year in the Halifax Public Gardens in the Family Lawn area. The other project areas that we have are our anchor projects. These are curated projects selected by our curator and funded through partnership with the Halifax Regional Municipality. Um, they're anchor, they're projects that anchor the theme through the festival and are located in different zones. We have our spotlight projects. Um, these are projects that are generally funded through different partnerships or collaborations. And then we have our community groups and galleries, which are self-funded projects submitted to be part of through um, a, a community call. And it's by their projects by different cultural institutions, businesses, organizations located in Chibougamau.
And Melanie, these two screens are, I think you covered most of it, but this is just showing a little more detail about the
Yeah,
two projects we're focusing on.
right. Yeah. So, if you're here, you've probably read or have a sense of what the beacon projects are. And we'll be kind of going into some of the details. So I probably won't spend too much time on this. Um, and same thing here. So maybe I'll just the low sensory project and how it's different. There's one project that's selected. It'll take place on the Sunday in the Halifax Public Gardens area. Um, Similarly to all of our projects, needs to relate to the theme, receives project funding, and yeah, we will go into those details for what kind of projects we're looking for. All right. And now I'm going to hand it over to Signe to talk about the application timeline.
Awesome. Thank you, Melanie. So this timeline applies to both the low sensory and beacon projects. Um, so obviously the applicant info session is today. A month from now, we will have what we're calling an application open studio, or kind of like a workshop session in person. So that's going to be hosted at Visual Arts Nova Scotia, where folks can come in and ask additional questions and kind of work together on their application with our staff and board present. Um, yeah, there will be more information about that, and we'll send out an email to everyone who was in this session. The submissions close on March 10th. Um, Early May, successful applicants will be contacted. Um, Unsuccessful applicants will also be contacted, so you won't be waiting to know. And August 1st, marketing materials, so images, descriptions are due from successful artists. October 15th to 18th, that is the festival. December 31st is the deadline for final reports from artists. Applicants will be informed of any adjustments to this timeline. So this is our two selection criteria for the beacon projects and low sensory projects. This is also available in the frequently asked questions section of the application pages. But this just kind of gives you an overview of what the jury is actually referencing and using when selecting projects. So this is definitely helpful for folks to look at. Yeah, and you can kind of see where there's more weight, so artistic merit, uh, impact, and experience and planning to execute the project successfully, which we'll kind of talk about when it comes to the budget, and just convincing or proving to the jury that you can actually make the project happen. Um, yeah, I won't go through this in detail, but it is available for folks.
Let's, Signe, I might just read through what the scoring matrix is for the Beacon projects. just so folks do know, unless you want to. I
Yeah,
think it's important.
sure. No,
Um,
I can go through it. Artistic merit, so that kind of that's 25% of what the jury is looking for. Is the project resolved and grounded in artistic and social discourse? Is it exploratory, challenging, and critical? Um, Alignment to Nocturne's core values. Is the project independent and non-commercial? Everything we make is free to experience. It's produced by artists, creative arts workers, and or makers. Does the project align with the goals and framework of the festival? So, uh, impact, so cultural impact, educational, social, visual, and or community impact. So what are people going to get out of it? And then is the project feasible? So do you have the experience to complete the project as described? Um, and how are you going to arrive at that? And the budget, we'll talk more about that. It's a pretty important part of the application. It can be a little intimidating for people, but we will walk everyone through it and make it as simple as possible. Um, but yeah, if there are any kind of big red flags in the budget, just things that aren't really explained, like costs that don't make sense, that might be a question for the jury. Relevance to community and place. So, what makes this work relevant at this time and place? Um, we don't only accept local artists, but that is a consideration. Is the artist local? Does the project address local themes or topics? Does the artist represent a traditionally excluded community? Um, and with the low sensory, there's a couple changes. So obviously, we would like the project to uh, incorporate low sensory elements and be accessible to folks that have sensory sensitivities. Is it focused on low sensory access? Does the project reflect low sensory elements in a holistic way and integrate it into the project? And demonstrates cultural, educational, social, visual, or community impact. Um, yeah, I think that kind of
thanks.
goes through that. Okay. Just more on the low sensory application and selection process. So there's two separate forms, one for the low sensory, one for the beacon. The application process there are very similar. There's a few differences with the low sensory. Um, as we discussed, it must consider low sensory elements. Unlike our beacon projects, there is a set venue, which is the Halifax Public Gardens. And the selection process includes a jury with uh, some involvement from the staff of the public gardens and the Friends of the Public Gardens, just to make sure it meets all of their guidelines. But yes, you can apply for both calls. You can submit one application to each call. Obviously, we will only select you for one, but that, yeah, if anyone has questions about that, please let us know. Okay, and how to apply. Um, for both calls, you'll see on our homepage, nocturnehalifax.ca. The top right corner there, you can find a page for both calls. So you'll just click on the call that you're applying for, um, read through the guidelines, and please read through the FAQs. There might be some questions that you have that could be answered there. We definitely suggest reading through them. It's a lot of information, but we also have a PDF that you can download, which might be easier for some folks. It's all in one document. And I'm seeing some questions come in the chat. So, should we complete the form all at once, or can we begin, save parts of it, and finish later? That's a great question. The form has a save button on it. However, we definitely suggest working uh, kind of like creating your responses in a separate document, maybe like a Word document, um, in case you do lose your progress. So I would not rely on the save button just in case, but there is that feature. Yes. And then is this call open to international artists? It is open to international artists and national, international, local. Um, okay. So there'll be a button that says go to application form after you've kind of read through everything on each page. That'll take you to the form, which we'll go through. Step 2 is prepare your application. Um, so it is an online form, but as I mentioned, it's helpful to kind of write down compile your responses in a separate document. If you do need support, we can answer questions that you might have. We can answer questions on the application process, things like budget. We can't necessarily give advice on the content or concept of your project. Um, Nocturne will also accept proposals via phone, video, or audio as needed. If this is something that you are interested in, please contact myself or Melanie. All right. Okay, so the beacon and low sensory form, section 1 will look like this for both calls. This is just your contact information. So if there's multiple people if you're applying on behalf of a collective or like a duo, just include details from your primary contact and the person that will be able to reach via email. Yeah, so someone that's willing to take the lead on that. Section 2, so this is artist and or collective details. This will look the same for beacon and low sensory. So this is about you and your collaborators. It gives the jury a look into who you are as an artist and collective. So here you can provide, there's you can add new rows for each individual that's part of your group. Name, pronouns, a 250-word bio, artist career stage. And there's also some sections if you have your website, Instagram handle, Facebook, you can upload or insert multiple links here. And these 2 sections at the end of this section, or 2 questions, are optional, but it's just to collect some information so that we could kind of do our job better in the future. And if you have any accessibility needs that you'd like us to know about. So we have a question about applying as a gallery or organization. So Melanie briefly mentioned the different types of projects. So right now we're focusing on Beacon, Low Sensory, which are the funded juried projects. So for community groups and galleries, that call opens in May, usually June. I think June. And
But
that, sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, Signy. Yeah. So the community groups and galleries call is separate, and that one doesn't have funding attached. So groups that generally apply within the community groups and galleries, that'll include everything. For instance, like the Dalhousie Art Gallery will stay open, but we don't necessarily provide funding for their projects that they have open that night. It also includes other commercial galleries, so on and so forth. That being said, other like galleries, like artist run centers, so on and so forth, are able to apply for the Beacon call if they do want to look for funding to support their project.
Yeah, hope that makes sense, Tanya. And if you're applying similarly to last year, then you would apply for the community groups call, which will come out in a few months. So section 3 of the form, this is specifically for Beacon, and I'll go over the low sensory. There's just like couple tiny differences. Um, so this is project details. So this is where you'll tell us about the project that you're proposing to the jury. Um, project overview. So that's kind of what we would say like a pitch of your project that kind of, yeah, includes all of the necessary information that we need to know. This isn't a project description that will be like the public description. That comes later on. So yeah, it's written, I guess the audience is the jury for all of this content. A thematic connection, so how it connects to the theme, your logistical and technical description. This is really important for, I'd say, all projects, regardless of whether or not you're using like technology. Um, but how are you planning on installing your work? Yeah, are there any like specific things you're going to build, materials that you're using, space requirements, and that kind of goes into the venue location information, which we can talk about later on too. So yeah, just telling us about like your ideal venue, or maybe you have a specific venue in mind. You don't need to have it confirmed or anything, but it's really helpful to know that you're thinking about what kind of space. Project execution. So here, how do you plan to execute your project for Nocturne? Do you have a work back schedule, contingency plans, any experience, skills, resources that demonstrate your ability to realize this project? Uh, helpful tips, make sure you're being as clear as possible. Um, it's helpful to have someone else read through your description. And if it makes sense to this person, then yeah, then it's probably good to go. Um, someone that doesn't know your work, so it's not really biased. Um, whatever you include in your technical description. So if you're talking about materials that you need, make sure you consider those materials in your budget, um, and connect to the theme. Um, perfect. Oh, we do have a question. Do you have descriptions of specific venues for applicants who do not live in Halifax? That is a good question. We don't have a list of specific venues. We do, um, I
I can
think,
jump in here, Signe.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so just on that note, if you're not from Halifax, one of the things I would recommend is describing what your ideal venue is. So if you
Mhm.
need to have your project take place in a park that has a big tree, that has access to power, and a bench where people can sit down, let us know exactly those details, and we'll try our best to find a venue that matches what your details are, and what your needs are for your project. So that's, we often have folks coming from other places to participate. And so the best thing for us is if you know the ideal venue and you can articulate that in this section. Um, the other note I just wanted to make too, if you have a project that is dependent on a very specific type of venue or a very specific venue, um, then we would want to see that you already have a relationship with that venue or that you've reached out. An example would be a few years ago, we had a project um, by Arjun Lal called To Be a Flamingo that could only take place at the pool in the YMCA. And so, because there wasn't really other options for us to look at, and the site specificity was so important, Arjun did include a letter or an email, anyways, that he had reached out and the venue was fine. So, unless it is contingent on your project success that it takes place in a specific venue, which I would say is a rare occurrence. Provide us
Mhm.
with details of what your ideal venue is.
Yeah, that's exactly. And we know that things change and things aren't always guaranteed with venues and spaces. So having a couple backup options is always very helpful too. Yeah, you can go to the
And
next. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, and just looking at the next questions, is there a sitemap? Um, you know, really this year, I would say focus on downtown Halifax, the waterfront area, and downtown Dartmouth are areas that, we do often have projects in the North End or Spring Garden Road area, but definitely we're looking at ensuring that the festival is walkable, and that things are taking place in the downtown area, downtown core.
Yeah.
Uh,
And there's another, we have a slide kind of at the very end that has some more info on venues. So I think that'll help answer some questions too.
Another question, if two or more people in your collective originate from different locations, do we just list as being from the primary contact's home? Uh, sh Sure. If you want to add a special note or something in there, we often have collaborators that are from different places. Um, yeah, if you do have someone who's here, um, maybe they would be a better contact, just if they are doing site visits, having someone
Yeah.
locally, but you know, it really doesn't matter too much. Whoever, yeah.
Mhm.
Are you good
All
if I go to
right.
the next slide, Signy?
Yeah, all
Okay.
good. So this is the same section 3 about your project for the low sensory. Um, yeah, so very similar. You have your project title, your overview, again, thematic connection. Oh, this is a little cut off here. But this is the question just discussing your low sensory, the low sensory like elements that are going to be a part of the project, or how is the project low sensory? So that question kind of replaces like the venue question that the Beacon submission form has, 'cause we don't need to worry about a venue for this one. It's going to take place at the Halifax Public Gardens. And there is specific reference images and maps that are about the specific location in the Halifax Public Gardens. So it's called the Family Lawn. It's the only part of the public gardens where people are allowed to walk on the grass. Um, so that's what makes it, yeah, more flexible and accessible for this kind of project. And it suited the project really well 2 years ago when we used it. Yeah, and there's dimensions and everything on the page there. Um, yeah, but that being said, it would be it would be nice for the jury to know how you're going to respond to the public garden space, and it is still, yeah, site specific. Mm, support material. So this is a kind of intimidating looking section, but basically, this is where you'll include images and other files to demonstrate your existing artistic practice and vision. You'll also submit a CV for each artist, and you can submit additional materials like letters of support or other miscellaneous documents. So yeah, please upload different media. Usually it's images. Sometimes it could be video or audio files or other media. To help us get a sense of your project vision. This may include examples of previous exhibitions, activations, presentations, installations of the proposed work. If this is a new work that is yet to be exhibited, you can include mock-up sketches, maquettes, tests. Sketches are often really helpful for the jury. Um, and so you can submit up to 10 examples of work, and that's in question 18 there. And this is for beacon and low sensory. Um, this kind of, oh, sorry.
I'll go back. Sorry.
So there are some guidelines for how to upload your files here. If your files are too large to upload, in the next question, sorry, this is kind of cut off. I think it was the effects that we added, like the animations. Um, but there's a question following the uploads where we ask for like an image list. So describe the title, year, description. And if your files are too large to upload in question 18, you can alternatively use a link um, and give us a link to like Google Drive or your website or YouTube, as long as it is publicly accessible. If it's not, and you need certain permission, then the jury won't be able to see it. So just keep that in mind. Um, yeah, and it is there is a note when you're uploading your materials to upload everything at the same time for question 18 here. So it's yeah, just select everything at the same time, upload. And if there are any issues with the form that you find, just feel free to email us. And sorry, the questions, there's some questions in the chat, I believe.
Yeah, so in the public gardens, would you be able to put up a tent or install a small structure for the low sensory project? Um, so we generally, like last year, or last time we had a tent, and it was just a tent that the volunteers could kind of stand under if there was rain or anything like that. If you are going to be putting up some sort of structure, it would have to go through any kind of safety, like the special events task force with the city. And so I would just say be very thoughtful if you are putting something in that it might need some extra, um, approvals processes. So,
Mhm.
yes, but with a giant asterisk. Yeah, and we accept around 10 to 15 beacon projects, depending on, uh, our budget and all sorts of details.
Mhm. Um, so the final question in this section, in section 4, is the budget. So there is a link where you can download this spreadsheet. It will come up as a Google Sheet. Um, and you will open this budget template. You'll create a copy of it for yourself. So file, make a copy, or file, download Microsoft Excel if you'd rather work in Excel. Um, and then yeah, you'll work from your own file because this is just a template where folks can copy one for themselves to use. Yeah, so there are two tabs in this budget. The first tab is labeled instructions, um, and we'll ask that everyone read through that before filling out the budget. It'll tell you everything you need to know. Um, Once you have uh, downloaded your budget as an Excel sheet, you can upload it to the form. Um, Sorry, I thought it was a little long-winded. And like I said, everything you put into your application essentially should make its way into your budget. So if you are, let's say, hiring a lighting technician or like an AV technician, and you talk about that in your proposal, we need to see that in the budget under, there's a personnel section where you'd put, um, yeah, technician, the fee that you would pay this technician, um, yeah, so on and so forth. Or like if you're renting a U-Haul because you need to transport a bunch of stuff, that should make its way into the budget. Um, yeah, so there's a helpful tip here. Imagine if you were to do this project next week, what would you need to make it happen? So what are the essential components? We'll talk a little more. Actually, if you go to the next slide, Melanie,
Sure.
a little more detailed here. I'm not sure if you wanted to take over
Yeah.
the
So yeah,
budget.
this is
Yeah.
this is uh a very descriptive slide. So it covers a lot of what is eligible, and pretty much we want all of your project expenses that would make this project happen. So artist fees are a key thing. We link to different, we're not prescriptive in what artist fees folks rely on. There's a few different ones. There's the public art artist fee. There's a few different ones that are linked to within the Carfax, their primary fee schedule. So see what works best for your practice and the amount of time and energy that you're putting in. All of the expenses do tally up. There's a formula built into the sheet. We do have a minimum artist fee that's put in there of $600. So the minimum artist fee that we would pay any artist is $600. But you can increase that based on your project, you know, to whatever you feel it should be. We also have space at the bottom for revenues. So a lot of projects come to us that have already had prior research support or support from other project funding, such as like Canada Council funding, or sometimes artists have in-kind support or other things. So what we're looking at, like we will be funding what you ask for from Nocturne, right? If the project has already been built, we won't retroactively provide any fees for things that have already taken place. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So we're really looking at the presentation for Nocturne. Um, what else can I say about this? You should try and provide as much detail as you can with the different expenses, um, as well as the revenues. Um, go through this, and I know a lot of people do have questions, and we are happy to help because we do recognize every project is different and every budget is different.
Yeah, I will just answer this question. What expenses are eligible and what are not eligible? That's a great question. Um, yeah, so things that aren't eligible, as Melanie mentioned, artwork that's already been produced or that you're going to produce before the project is selected. Um, so no kind of retroactive payments to cover things that are already completed. Um, things like expensive technology like a laptop, those kinds of things. Another key one is so we do have documentation. We have photographers that go around and take kind of some key photos of each project. But if you are really, really keen on having like extensive documentation of your project, or videography, um, that would be something we wouldn't really cover. That's kind of like for your own desire, your own use. So that would come out of pocket for artists. We wouldn't really encourage you to put that in the budget. Other things, there's a big list in the budget template on the instruction pages, the instruction tab, that lists everything that is eligible. So if you read through that, that'll kind of give you a sense of what is eligible, and then anything that's not there, maybe just send us an email and ask.
I know we only have about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to try and get through the rest of these slides and just take care of people's time here. This slide here, the beacon funding per project, is exactly what it looks like. This is linked to in the FAQs as well as on the project application page, where you can see how much we funded. We aren't prescriptive with how much projects can cost, but you can see, the most expensive projects were funded in 2023. In 2025, our highest project wasn't quite as high. So, being thoughtful around what's realistic for the festival and projects and not overextending your budget to where it discounts itself from the process. Um, the other thing to note is the amounts that are listed here and our project amounts are what Nocturne is paying towards the project. So, for instance, this project might have had a budget of $3,665. They might have had other in-kind expenses or other funding that isn't included. These are the amounts that Nocturne has paid for projects, not the overall project costs, which in some cases is like you don't need to have extra funding. That's not part of any of the weighted criteria. If a Nocturne is funding 100% of the project, that's great. If you have other funding sources, that's great too. Um, just another note on the budget. If you do have other funding sources, let us know if those have been confirmed or not.
Hmm. And there's a
Um,
section in the budget or a column for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, submission checklist. You'll just have to click a little couple little boxes before you submit. Make sure you have everything ready to go. Have someone read over your application and submit. You should receive an email confirming that your submission has been sent. If you have any questions about that as well, feel free to reach out to us. And also, we want to always provide you with a bit of insight. We ask former artists who participated in the Beacon projects previously as part of their final report, if they have any advice for artists looking to apply, I highly encourage you to check out that advice. And this is one piece that we always like to highlight. Um, so we crafted our proposal by challenging our concepts with numerous what if questions, ensuring it was practical and achievable, not just a conceptual idea. We believe that submitting a proposal that's as technical as it is artistic is essential. It helps judges see that your idea is truly feasible. We approach it much like a business would when applying for a grant or loan, recognizing that these grants are an investment in ideas that they want to see succeed beyond just their aesthetic value. Our goal was to minimize the work for the judges by preemptively addressing potential questions and providing clear solutions. While we can't be certain this approach was the correct one, being as specific and concrete as possible certainly felt like it couldn't hurt. And this is great advice that I love to see. And um, yeah, really making sure that your vision is achievable.
Yeah. And there was just a question about does the budget cover assistance with transportation and accommodations? Yeah, so you can put accommodations, travel, and all that in your budget, and just please include some sort of reference to where you got that number from. I'm gonna also just put a link to the Canada Council travel grants, which many artists do apply if they're flying from different parts of the country, and that's a rolling deadline, I believe. Um, yeah.
We also do like encourage you to check out Canada Council's like per diem schedule and travel schedule of what you know they have allocated for amounts for travel, and that's what we reference as well.
Hmm. Yeah, and all that should be linked in the budget template. There's a lot of information in there. Um, yeah.
Any
And
other questions that you might have, feel free to reach out to either myself, Signy, or Annalise. Um, and I think now we can dive into any more questions that folks have.
yeah, I think if you want to go to the next slide, actually,
Oh yeah.
sorry, Melanie, I just wanted to see. Actually, this is a good overview, I think, of kind of like the supports that Nocturne gives. versus things that artists are more responsible for sourcing or figuring out. Yeah, so we provide funding based on your approved budget, but artists are responsible for paying for these costs through their allotted budget and keeping track of their expenses. We can help with finding and securing a venue, connecting you with your venue contact, arranging venue site visits, and initial meeting with the venue. But we can't guarantee you will get your dream venue. We'll always do our best. We can't coordinate meetings or plans on your behalf. So uh, please respond to emails and all that. We can put you in touch with like AV and rental equipment companies in our network, but we can't book things for you. And that should all come out of your artist budget. And if you don't live in Halifax, don't worry. We have lots of recommendations and folks to connect you with. We can provide volunteers with specific skills, but our volunteers are not professional technicians or security, so do not rely on them completely. Um, yeah, we do provide signage, so we have a 20 by 20-inch sign with your project info and some wayfinding stickers. But if you do need additional signage, or if your project is heavily reliant on signage of some sort, we would ask you to maybe put that into your budget. Um, yeah, we market and promote projects. We provide limited documentation, but we also encourage artists to share, reshare posts. And then I mentioned this about the photographer. If you want your own personal photographer, that's something you would pay out of pocket for. Okay, and this is probably just an important thing for folks to know. We do our best to support with installation of projects through coordinating with artists and venues, requesting volunteers, and being available kind of on call if anything comes up throughout the festival. Um, yeah, and if specific permissions or permits or helping coordinate installation is needed. Um, but we, as Melanie mentioned, we're a very small team. We're not able to personally be there to install or help install with every project. It's physically just not possible. Um, so artists are responsible for installing and de-installing. So I just say this so that folks know if this is a really, really big, intense project that needs a lot of support for install. Uh, it's recommended that you consider that in your proposal, and maybe you hire an assistant to help with that, or a technician or a friend even.
We
Just
also,
wanted to,
sorry,
yeah.
yeah. We also, those are things, if the project is successful, we would cover in an info session for artists. We also have volunteer support for all of those things as well. I just want to address some of the questions that we have coming in. Does one have to submit travel expenses under the budget if they're not looking to get compensated, that is? So, if there are travel expenses or any expenses as part of your project that are going to be covered out of pocket by you, the artist, or covered, we still want them to be included. It's important, especially for our funders, that they know exactly how much it takes for us to put on these projects and how much artists put into their projects themselves. So please do include that information as other sources of revenue, or just put in kind or covered by the artist. Another question, will there be a
Hmm.
sheltered space for Nocturne, like the fine art exhibit at the National Art Gallery? Um, uh, so yeah, we want artists to really think about uh, the weather, of course. Nocturne happens rain or shine. It is primarily an outdoor festival. And so please do consider that. Um, we can't guarantee it, this festival is a lot about art, but it's a lot about temporary public art as well. So it's free, it's open, and how can you kind of take your work outside of a traditional gallery setting?
Yeah. And there are some examples on the final slide of this slideshow, with just some like successful projects that took place in like unique public spaces and outdoor spaces. And definitely encourage you to look at our project archive on our website, which shows some different projects throughout the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just we're all about um, yeah, the unexpected and unexpected spaces and making art in places you wouldn't normally see it or be allowed to do it. So definitely encourage you to take advantage of that. It's not something you can do, um, yeah, every day.
So I know we're a few minutes over already. Are there any other questions that folks have right now that we can address? Feel free to just shout them out or put them in the chat.
As is it okay to go to speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
Shut up. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi. Thank you.
Hi.
It, the other there, I believe I saw that there were other options for applying, like if that aren't the beacon and the sensory. Are those have a different process for submitting, or
Right. So I'll just go back. That would be do, 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 the other projects here. So
I was thinking
these,
about a self-funded, just as
right.
just to put out there.
Yeah, if you have a self-funded project, that's something that could go in community groups and galleries. We do have some artists who do submit self-funded projects. A note for that, you would be responsible for sourcing your own venue. So we don't necessarily provide venue support for community groups and galleries,
Okay.
but
I'm
that's absolutely an option.
Yeah.
okay. And to be honest, I'm kind I'm actually interested, I think, in a spotlight project, but
Okay.
I don't need to be self-funded if as well. So um
Yeah, so spotlight projects generally are those that we've been developing maybe in partnership, like through partnership for a few years. So if you go onto the Nocturne website and you look at the archive and you look at maybe what some of the previous spotlight projects were from last year, one of them was Maxime Theroux, who
that's
was
cool.
sponsored by Institut Français and the French consulate. So things where there might be longer relationships where we've been looking at funding and hosting projects for a bit longer. It's not
Okay.
necessarily a stream that you would apply to,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
It does.
Okay.
I mean, and technically an anchor project, is that kind of the same, is that a same sort of partnership, or because it
Yeah, anchor projects are selected by the curator. So instead of having a juried process, the anchor project, Annalise will select a certain number of projects where she hand picks them specifically because of their relationship to the theme. So yeah, it's not something that you can necessarily apply to either.
It's
okay, that makes a
usually,
lot of okay.
yeah, it's usually around like four projects.
Yeah.
So typically they're spread out like kind of one in each zone,
Hmm.
more or
Okay.
less. But yeah,
All right, perfect.
Any, great. Any other questions?
if anything comes up, yeah, please feel free to email me or Melanie, or the info box. It's probably easier to get in touch with me if you have questions about the application form or anything like that. Oh, we have a question here. An anchor project. No, the anchor projects are not chosen from the Beacon pool. They are not um, apply, like there's no application process for them. So yeah, Annalise, I don't know if you, because you have
It's
worked in curation, if you want to explain the process of kind of what a curator does, that might,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, sure. So, uh, over the past little while, I've been doing research into my own sort of interests in artists that I am aware of that are making art in and outside of Chipuktuk, Halifax. And so I've been thinking deeply about artists that I feel like relate to the theme that I've put forward. Um, I've had some artists reach out to me as well, and so you can certainly do that by emailing um, the Annalise at Nocturne email address, and I'd be happy to chat with you about your project. The process of a curator is to sort of use their own lived experience and put that towards the curatorial process. And so I've already begun doing that, and will be using my own past experience and the research that I've done towards the theme and putting that towards the projects that will be curated. And yeah, that will be a mix of different types of artists, and I mean, you will see, but also like please feel free to reach out to me if you have more questions about that, or if you feel like you have a project that you want to be considered for one of the main projects of Nocturne.
Thanks, Annalise. That's great.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate taking time out of your evening to attend this session. If you do have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Signe, Annalise, or myself. We'll be happy to answer any questions you have. And be sure if you're in Halifax to attend the in-person workshop that will be taking place on February 28th at Visual Arts Nova Scotia. It'll be a chance to ask questions. We want to ensure that you are putting together the best possible proposal for the jury. So we want to help you fine tune and make sure that we answer all your questions. And you are providing the jury to showcase your project in the best light possible. Um, Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you at Nocturne this fall.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank
Um,
you so much. Sorry, I
Oh,
had a question right at the end.
yeah.
oh yeah, so we actually that's a good question. I don't believe you will need to register. It'll just be kind of drop in, but we will send out an email and a social post and everything. Yeah, so I will
Details
get that information to you.
TBC.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Well, I was gonna come, I
The
think March
first time we've
1st
done
to
it.
Halifax, but I'll be coming. I think I'm coming at the end of February before the 28th, so I can come see y'all in person.
That's
Wow.
perfect. Good
Amazing.
timing.
Hey, I've got family there, so I love Halifax.
Yeah, it's
Thank
kind of
you.
a snowy time to, well, hopefully the snow is like a little less intense around that time, but
It's Halifax. The weather could be anything, anytime, right?
yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing. Well,
Awesome.
thank you so
I
much.
thank you. Thanks, Kristen.
Thanks, everyone.